changes. How do we change our consumption pattern? Okay, so that is called as what? That is called as factors affecting consumption function. Okay, now uh, so there are various subjective and objective factors. So first we are going to learn about the subjective factors. Now subjective factors are basically what? They are basically the psychological features. Okay, psychological features. They are the social practices. Okay, they include the social arrangements. So all these things are included under the subjective factors. They refer to certain motives which individuals and business firms, they refrain from spending out of their income. Okay, so we will see what are the various subjective factors affecting our consumption pattern. Now, first is there are certain motives. The first motive is called as the motive of precaution. Now, what do we know about precaution? What kind of precautions we need to take? Precautions, in the sense, it is to meet unforeseen contingencies. Unforeseen means unexpected. Unexpected situations might come in the future. For example, in the near future, we might suffer from illness, or in the near future, there might be accidents. Can you tell, if I ask you a question, what you will answer me? Is the future certain or the future is uncertain? Please put your cameras on, students. I want to see you all. So, how is the future? Is the future certain or is the future uncertain? What do you think?
Uncertain.
Uncertain.
Yes. Okay, everybody thinks that future is uncertain. So, what do you mean by future being uncertain?
We cannot predict what will happen next.
Okay, so future is unpredictable. We cannot predict it. Okay, so that is why we say future is uncertain. So going ahead with regards to this uncertain future, what do we do is we save some proportion of money right now in the present. Thinking about the uncertain future, we save some proportion of money right now in the present. So that is called as, and we do it as out of precaution. So this motive, okay, of doing the savings for future use, it is called as what? It is called as motive of precaution, right? Then second one, it includes is the motive of foresight. Now, motive of foresight means what? A certain kind of expected, anticipated future needs are there. Like for example, many families will have the anticipated needs, expected needs to look for the family, family belongings, or to look for the education of the children. Okay, they want to satisfy those needs in the future. So thinking about them, people, what they do, they save money right now in the present. So this is also called as motive of foresight. Then we have is the motive of calculation and improvement. Okay, now consumption is also influenced by motive of calculation. Motive of calculation means we try to calculate our income. We always enjoy getting more income. So we try to calculate it. And motive of improvement means what? We try to increase our expenditure also thereby. We think of increasing our expenses. We think of increasing our expenditure, enjoying a luxurious life, improving our standard of living. So that can come under what? That can come under the motive of improvement. Correct? Then next is the motive of independence. Motive of independence means we always have a feeling, a tendency to be independent, to do whatever we want to do, right? To be on our own, like that. So that is called as a motive of independence. Now next is about motive and enterprise. Motive of enterprise is what? It is the desire to secure sufficient wealth. Okay, now enterprise, motive of enterprise means we always desire to obtain, okay, enough, sufficient, plenty of wealth. That is called as motive of enterprise. Then the next motive is called as what? Next motive is called as the motive of pride. we want to experience a sense of pride. We have that kind of tendency. That is called as a motive of pride. And then we have is the motive of avarice, which you can see here. Motive of avarice is nothing but it is a desire to satisfy the pure miserliness. Okay, this is called as we want to satisfy that requirement, satisfy the pure miserliness. That motive, that tendency is called as the motive of avarice. So these are the basic, what I can say is the subjective factors which affect our consumption function. Have you understood till here, students? Boys and girls, everyone? Okay. Now, next is about the motive of enterprise and liquidity. Now, these motives influence the behavior of business firms. Whatever business corporations are there, whatever business organizations are there, whatever business firms are there, okay, so they also come under the jurisdiction of some motives. Basically they come under the jurisdiction of motive of enterprise and liquidity. Liquidity is what we always have a tendency to obtain liquid cash. Okay, there should be liquidity of money flow, often we say. So means what, there should be liquidity of cash reserves in the economy. So that motive occurs with the business corporations, that motive occurs with the business firms and all. Then they also come under the jurisdiction of the motive of improvement. Improvement is basically to enjoy, to expand their expenses, to enjoy a better standard of living. And there is one more motive called as the motive of financial prudence. Now, what is financial prudence? It is the desire to provide sufficient financial resources, okay, against the depreciation and obsolescence. So that is called as the motive of financial prudence. It is basically the desire, the requirement to provide sufficient financial resources. Okay, we need to provide sufficient financial resources. So that is called as a financial prudence. Till here, have you understood, everyone? All the students? Is it clear? The subjective factors are clear, everybody, all the students? Great. Now I will go ahead with the objective factors. Okay, please put your cameras on and please mark the attendance there on the classroom. Now, next is we want to see what are the objective factors. What do we mean by objective factors in case of this consumption pattern, our consumption pattern? What are the various objective factors which influence our consumption pattern? Okay. Now, how are they classified? Now, objective factors, they bring changes in the nature, shape, position of the consumption function. Now, various consumption functions are there. Okay, then what happens, uh, those consumption functions, their nature changes, their shape, position, everything changes. So what are the various changes occur in this? There will be changes in the wage level, windfall gains or losses. Okay, individual wages, they will fluctuate, they will change. Then certain gains, unexpected windfall gains and losses means what, they are the unexpected gains or losses in income. I will write on the chat box, you can copy down. Okay, so you can see I have written down on the chat box, please copy down. Windfall gains or losses means They are the unexpected gains or losses which we experience in income. Clear, I hope, till here? Everybody? Okay. Now, next is about the changes in fiscal policy and expectation. So, you know what is fiscal policy, correct? Fiscal policy is implemented by whom? Fiscal policy is implemented by the government. And I told you what is fiscal policy. Whenever the government feels that it should give more, it should get more income. So what the government will do is government will increase the taxes, and this increased income by increasing taxes, okay, which the government will get, it is called as what? It is called as fiscal policy. So there will be changes in that. Then apart from that, there will be changes in the rate of interest. There will be interest rate fluctuations, just like you have seen in case of business cycle. What used to happen in trade cycle or business cycle? There used to be continuous fluctuations in the rate of interest. So same way here also, this changes in the rate of interest, this is going to affect our consumption pattern as well. Because see, when suppose we want to repay a loan, okay, when we want to repay a loan, obviously when we have to repay it and we have to pay a higher interest along with the loan, then our consumption will be less that time, obviously. So interest rates, they affect our consumption pattern. Then changes in the net income. Income is anyhow related to consumption, I told you. Income increases, consumption increases. Income falls, consumption also falls. But I told you one uh, main important thing in this, in the other lecture of mine, that do we spend our entire income on consumption? Like I gave you the example, I asked you a question that if your income is 15,000, will you spend the entire 15,000? No. Okay, students are answering as no. Very good. So what you are going to do? Suppose out of 15,000, you spend 12,000. So remaining remaining 3,000. What do you do? Okay, you are going to save. Okay, so that time when you start doing the savings, what happens, students? Your consumption curve, starts falling down. You have seen in that non-linear consumption function. So the time when you start doing the savings, okay, the consumption first it initially goes up, but then the time you start doing the savings, then the consumption curve starts falling down, which we have seen in case of non-linear consumption function. Am I correct? Have you understood till here? Please reply. Boys, girls, everybody. Okay, okay, very good. Okay, right. So these are the factors affecting our consumption pattern, right? Then we will go ahead with regards to the implications. If you can see my slide, this slide, implications of consumption function, please write slide on the chat box. Okay. Okay, so everybody can see the slide. Very good. Now let us continue with this. So implications of consumption function. So what are the various implications? The first implication is importance of investment. Okay. What role does investment play here along with consumption function? Okay, now consumption establishes the important role of investment, and it tells us that investment is quite enough to fill the gap between income and consumption. Now, on one side, what you do, students, on one side you take income, and on the other side you take consumption. Okay, income increases, consumption increases, income falls, and consumption will also fall. So they are directly related. But in between, what do we do when we take investment decisions? Okay, just like we had seen savings, when we start doing the savings, consumption curve falls. Okay, so in between, suppose we uh, start taking our investment decisions. So that time, when we make investments, what will happen to our consumption? Is the consumption going to increase or it is going to fall that time? What do you think? Yes, when we invest, okay, so what will happen to our consumption? Is it going to rise or it is going to fall that time, that particular time? Yes, on one side you take income, on one side you take consumption, in between you take investment. So when we at that time, the time we start doing the investments, okay, so what is going to happen with our consumption? हम लोग कहाँ से करेंगे इन्वेस्टमेंट और तभी हमारे कंजम्पशन को क्या होगा? Yes, investment. When we start doing the investments, that time consumption is going to fall a bit. Okay, because whatever money we had earlier saved, out of that money only we are making the investments. So on the other side, consumption that time will start falling down. It will start diminishing. Okay, so there will be a gap which will be created by investment, and this gap will be created between income and consumption. This is the first investment rule. Then next is about it invalidates Say's law and decline in marginal efficiency of capital. What was Say's law? Say's law of market tells us what? Say's law of market tells us that supply creates its own demand. I told you earlier also, supply creates its own demand. And marginal efficiency of capital, what was marginal efficiency of capital? That it is the rate of return, initial rate of return which we expect. But here it invalidates Say's law. It says that supply does not create its own demand, but supply is more than demand. Supply may be more than demand. Supply may exceed demand. Okay, so this is called as invalidating. Okay, uh, not approving the Say's law of market. So this is done by this consumption function. Then next is about the turning points of the business cycle and danger of the over saving gap. Now, function, through the consumption function, we come to know about the upswings and downswings, about the upward trends in business, about the downward trends in business. We can see the upward trends in economic activities. We can see the downward trends in economic activities much more in a better way when we learn about the consumption function. But there is always a danger which is created by over saving gap. Over saving gap means what? When all of us try to do the savings more and more, तो देन तभी क्या हो जाएगा? सब लोग एक साथ सेविंग्स करने लगेंगे तो ऑब्वियसली द कंजम्पशन इज गोइंग टू fall. It will start diminishing. Okay, then the next implication is about it dampens the income propagation. The income propagation is what? It is basically related to the theory of multiplier, and it depends them on the marginal propensity to consume. Marginal propensity to consume, students, it is nothing but it shows the change in income with regards to the change in consumption, right? Now this thing, marginal propensity to consume, it is symbolically expressed as change in consumption divided by change in income. So I am dictating you, just please write it down. MPC, I have written on the chat box, MPC. Okay, MPC is called as MPC is called as marginal propensity to consume. Find it out from the chat box. Okay, which is equal to, you put that delta sign. Delta sign is represented as a small triangular sign. एक small triangle you take. छोटा सा triangle draw करो and then लिखो C. Delta C means what? Delta sign represents change. Okay, delta C upon delta Y. MPC equal to delta C upon delta Y. Delta is that small triangular sign. MPC equal to delta C upon delta Y. Okay, Shreyas, can you tell me what is this delta represent? Delta sign represent, Shreyas Gaikwad. Shreyas Gaikwad, what does this delta sign represent?
Where, ma'am?
I am asking you, what does this delta sign represent?
A change.
Yes, very good. So delta sign represents change. Okay. So change in consumption divided by change in income. Okay. So this is called as the marginal propensity to consume. And apart from that, here it talks about the dampening of the income generation. Okay. Dampening of the income generation. The process talks about the dampening of the process of income generation. Now, next implication is about underemployment equilibrium. Underemployment equilibrium is also a very important implication of this consumption function. And it talks about the reasons also for the existence of underemployment equilibrium. Okay, and it tells us that equilibrium level of employment is not full employment but underemployment or equilibrium. We achieve the equilibrium level not at the full employment but at the underemployment equilibrium. So this is the next implication. And the last one we have is the need for state intervention. I earlier we had assumed, अगर आपने देखा होगा assumptions में, we had assumed that there will be a laissez-faire economy. Laissez-faire economy, what was that? Where there is no government intervention, where there is no government interference. But ऐसे नहीं होता है. We require a state intervention. We require a government interference. Okay. So these are the various implications of consumption function. Have you understood till here, everyone? If yes, then post yes. If no, then post no. Any doubts, you can ask. Till here, everybody, you have understood? Okay. Now, we will continue with average propensity to consume. Now, what is average propensity to consume? Please write it. Average propensity to consume, APC. It is written as APC. And the full form for it is average propensity to consume, which is equal to C upon Y, which is equal to C upon Y. Average propensity, PROPENSITY, propensity to consume, in bracket you write APC. The formula for it is equal to C upon Y. C upon Y is what? C upon Y is consumption divided by income. Consumption divided by income. Okay. Anyone wants to ask me anything? Clear? Everybody has understood?